Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Hot Cocoa. As you can see, I've decided to insert a little video down in the corner of your screen of me talking. I'm not sure what good this will do you, but if it does, okay. Anyway, this week we will be looking at a class called NSScanner. What NSScanner does is it lets you scan through strings to find certain things and pick them out. So first, let me show you what we'll actually be scanning through. That's this thing on the desktop here called SL log. So this is a chat log from a program you may or may not be familiar with called Second Life. And this is actually the chat log from back when you could win Linden dollars from Sploders, and I wrote a program to figure out different statistics about the Sploder thing. Basically, you'd put money in it, and it would go off, and you'd get a random amount of money, and the fewer people in it, and the higher the pot was, the bigger your reward had a chance of being. So, they later banned those because the FBI was sort of breathing down their necks saying, you're not allowed to have online gambling, and that's gambling in your own line, so stop having it. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is extracting this amount right here out of each line and putting that into an array. So then we could operate on them as if they were an array of numbers, which is what my program would be doing to calculate percentages and statistics and stuff like that. We won't be going that far, but we will be seeing how to scan this. So if you look at each line, you can see that each line here has this sort of beginning part, the thing we want, and then a little bit after it. But the beginning part is not always the same length, and sometimes you have lines in here that we don't need to scan at all. And so that's what we're going to be using NSScanner to do, to scan through that. So let's get started, and let me clear some screen space. Oh, where'd it go? It went away. Anyway, I can't leave it up all the time because then you wouldn't be able to see stuff. Alright, so I've already started up a project here, just a regular Cocoa project, and I've inserted a method here, which if you look at a Cocoa tip from probably a few years ago by now, this is the code for taking a NS text view and turning off word wrap in it, because for whatever reason it's not an option in Interface Builder. You have to use code in the awake from nib method in order to do that. But I copied and pasted that in there, and you can too if you go back and read that post, or just open up this project when I upload it. So let's start out by setting up our things in the header here. We will be needing only 2 IB outlets. The first one is going to be an NS text view for our chat log, and then the second one is going to be another NS text view for our output log. I suppose you could also just print this to the console, but I figured it would probably be easier to see if I printed it to the interface. And you will need one action for pressing of the button. That's going to run the analysis. Alright, let's save that. Save this one too. And open up our interface. Loading. loading. There it is. All right, so as you saw on the header, grab some text views here. Stick them on there. Grab another one. Stick that on there. And title it Analyze. Alrighty. Now, if you're actually making an interface like this, you might want to put a little grab handle thing in there so you could move or resize these, but we're not going to do that because we're just doing this as an example. So, I'll link these up. That's the chat log. That's the output log and analyze. There we go. Alright. We will save that. And close out of Interface Builder. Now for the main portion of our program, we can switch back here for a second. And put it there, and now we are ready to write some code. Not quite yet though, because I forgot something. We also need an NS mutable array to store the things in, and we'll call that bets. Even though they're not really bets, they're actually results, but we're going to call them bets. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is make sure that our array is empty and initialized. So we can do that by going if bets is not equal to nil. So if it has something in it, release it. And then subsequently set it to bets equals NS mutable array. And alloc init. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is make sure that the chat log is not empty, which we can do by if chat log string is equal to string blank, then we can run this code. And you'll remember from an earlier episode, I believe it was probably one of the first 2 or 3 episodes, that when you're comparing strings, you have to use the is equal to string thing here, because otherwise, if you try and compare them directly, you'll end up comparing the objects, and unless they're the same object, it will always return false, even if they contain the same string. So let's just initialize some things here to begin with and declare some variables. We need one for the current line, set that to nil, another NS string for the current line number so we can keep track of which one we're reading, and we will need an integer initialize that to 0, and an NS array chat log lines, and then an int for our for loop. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to get the lines, separate the lines from our log and get them all into an array. And we can do that using the method from NSString called components separated by string. And that will return an NS array that we can then put into our array here. So we'll have NS chat log lines is equal to chat log string components separated by string. And to separate it by line breaks, you just do \n. and that will tell you that you want to separate it by line breaks. Now we can begin our main for loop, which we want to have be for I equals 0, I less than chat log lines, count, and then when add 1 to I at the end of each of those. All right. Now, what we're going to do first is this I here in the for loop is going to represent the current line that we're reading. So the first thing we need to do is load the current line from the array into our current line variable. Or current line in a string object, to be specific. Log lines object at index, and we'll look up the object at whatever index is I. Now comes the actually interesting part. That was a lot of setup. But what I'm going to need to do is open up this real quickly and grab, preview. We need to grab this, the beginning of this if statement there. Basically what this does is it tells it to ignore any of the lines that don't contain relevant information. So after I copy this, I'll show you how that works. Because that would be an awful lot of typing to make you sit through. Alright. So basically what this does is it uses the location property of the range of string method to search for this string here, and if it doesn't find it, it will return NS not found. If it does find it, it will return the location within the string that section of the string is located at. But really, we're just interested in whether or not it actually found it. So long as if it found it, or not found in this case, or if it has that, or if it has that, then we will let our scanner run on that line. Now, the first thing we need to do is create a new scanner by doing NSScanner, which we'll call scanner, and we'll initialize that using the NSScanner method scanner with string. And scanner only works on strings. I don't think you can use it to scan through arrays of other things, or like strings of, well, you could do it to search through strings of integers, but not like arrays of integers. So we'll load our current line up in there. Now we're going to do a series of things to sort of get to what we need to scan. And you can think of it sort of like how we were writing things into a file in the writing things to file episode, the last episode, where you can, if you can imagine sort of a cursor or the little blinking text thingy, and being able to sort of move that through the string and then being able to copy things from in front of that, then you can have an idea of what we're actually going to be doing to the string here. So first what we're going to do is run scan up to string, and that string will be just 1. And we're going to set the into string to nil, because we don't really want to do anything with what's in there. We just want to move the cursor up to the point that we actually are going to start scanning. And the reason we need to do this way is because we don't always know exactly how many characters will come before just 1. But we know that in every line, it does say at some point just 1. So what this first thing does is it scans all of this up until it hits that. and then it just sends it into nil. You could also have it send it with the into string into a string if you wanted to, but we're just going to get rid of that. And that leaves our little read cursor right where we want it. The next thing we're going to do is use the set scan location to move it past the just one up to our actual point. So set scan location, and it wants an integer, which we will give it by doing NSScanner scan location, which will return its current location, and add 9 to that because we want to move it ahead 9 characters. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that'll put it just at the end after the space, after 1. So we'll close that up there. So now our read cursor is right there, right before the number. Now you'll notice we also don't know whether the number is going to be 2 or 3 digits. So we're going to use the scan up to string again. Scan up to string. And this time we want to scan up to the string $, which in this case means Linden dollars. So up to there. And this time we actually do want to save that. And we're going to put it in, let me close that off there. All right. So we want to scan that into our current line number in a string up here. Now, you may be wondering what this little ampersand sign is there for. It is actually similar to this asterisk here in that when you see an asterisk before a variable, it's actually not representative of the object itself. It's actually a pointer to that object. So like up here, we're actually creating pointers to the object and not referencing the object directly like in this case. Here what we're doing is we are actually getting the address of the pointer itself. Instead of getting the pointer, we want the location of the pointer in memory. To be completely honest, I'm not entirely sure why you need to use that in this instance and not in other instances. If you look in the documentation, it'll say that this the scan up to string method for the into string wants it says ns string and then 2 asterisks, which is why we need the ampersand, but I don't for sure know the exact reason why you couldn't just put a string in there, but you can't. So we have our ampersand in there to indicate that we want the address of the pointer to the NS string called current line number. Why it's so complex, I have no idea. All right, then we're going to set our current number to the current line number int value. So get the integer value from that string, put that into our current number, which as you can see is an integer. And then take our bets array and add an object to it. We're going to make an NS number since we can't put just a direct integer into it, and we're going to do number with int, and our int value comes from the current number like so, and we can close off that if and close off that for. And now finally all we need to do is print that out to the log, which we will do by going for I equals 0 while I is less than the number of items in the bets array. Add 1 to I, and we'll do output log insert text because we want to insert it after the text that's already in there. And we want bets object at index I. We want the string value of that object. And we want string by appending string, and we want to add a line break to the end of each of those. So they all end up on new lines. like so, and close that off. And this, to point out something that annoys me a bit about Objective-C, you'll notice we all know that in order to run a method, you have to enclose it in brackets. This is the problem I have with that, because when you have brackets embedded in brackets, you end up with having to have a whole bunch of brackets at the beginning, which normally you shouldn't, which in other languages you wouldn't have to do that. And it just sort of annoys me that you have to put one there and then go back and put one at the beginning and then put another one and then go back and put one at the beginning, unless you know how many you need beforehand. Anyway, that's just something that gets on my nerves. All right, so we then need to close off the main if loop like that, and cross your fingers and hope this runs. It's compiling it. We have a warning, but I spelled. It's a warning, but it will actually affect us because that needs to be counts, not, or it needs to be count, not counts. There we go. That only seems to happen when I type and talk at the same time. Anyway, let's take our chat log here, paste it into there, and you can see our word wrap turning off function worked there. Hit analyze, and there we go. There's our list of bets that we can then take and do whatever we want with. So there you go. There's a method for searching through strings and extracting that little bit of information you want. And I guess that's it. So we'll see you next time on Hot Cocoa.